Hey guys, well, welcome to the second episode of the Todd Todd Podcast. I'm Todd Rizzo with my co-host Todd Delfarno.
All right.
We have a packed house today. We figured, why not just go big? I guess on our second episode, he and I played around on the first one, so we have a cast today of some great people.
We have a full house of four people.
Yeah, full house of four, and a completely variety of business, a little venture. So
I think it's all about just really getting people, to Florida and making this their new home.
Sure.
And we have Tom from Deephaven. He's made Florida his home.
correct.
Anthony Cesari came out of New York. He's now made Boca his home with his Bronx to Boca.
Yeah,
You have Russell Rienzi,
yeah. My man Russell,
who's a finance extraordinaire who also came from New York to
Correct.
Florida. And Craig Goods from the New England area where I'm from Boston, who's now made Sarasota his home. So we all have that in common. We all have finance. We all have real estate. And where people usually live, they drive. So we have your side of the house with the automobile and his expertise in how to get you in new wheels. Live the Florida dream like everybody else in some Miami Vice car or whatever makes you happy.
correct. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. It's funding to real estate to wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, we just
Living the lifestyle of Todd and Todd.
okay, very good. That's correct.
What are we doing?
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, the exciting thing is here is that, a lot of people are trying to make the transition from wherever they are to Florida or all
Sure.
these southern states. And there's a lot of different ways in which, people can take those paths. And I know that one of the hot topics we're seeing is this other investment property transition, I want to call it. I mean, people are really finding unique ways to take monies that they've saved up to invest and buy these multifamilies or buy a fix and flip, or maybe they just want to build a house of their dreams and do a ground up. And Craig from Bentley Equity Loans has taken a significant lead in that space and has partnered up with Deephaven. So we have Tom from Deephaven, who's our chief sales officer nationally. With that being said, Tom, you can probably segue us into a little bit more about yourself and your company and where you see this market going.
Tom Davis, thanks again for having me, being part of this panel with distinguished guests and folks on this podcast today. But yeah, so I run sales at Deephaven. I'm the chief sales officer. Deephaven is a pioneer in the non-agency space. We've been doing it since 2013. We are wholly owned by an asset manager up in New York called Freddie M Partners, about 65 billion in assets under management, purely in the residential space. And we focus on the non-agency segment of the market. It's actually one of the highest growth segments in the mortgage space. And we cater to investors. We cater to self-employed people, high net worth, high income. We cater to real estate investors, builders, developers, and we've really seen tremendous growth over the last, let's call it, 10 years in our space. The agency box is kind of tight, and just like there's agency borrowers in every town, you have non-agency. You have these high income, high net worth investors, right? Builders, developers, and Florida is really a bright spot when you look at just what's going on down here. I mean, it's truly remarkable. In Dade County over the last 2 quarters had more $10 million sales than any other county in the United States. Broward County, Palm Beach County, same thing. You're seeing these everyone's coming down here, right? Investing in real estate as our primary residents are leaving other states and they're coming down here in record numbers. And the DMV data shows that when someone trades in their license from another state, like that is used to understand where people are coming from. And so it's not just people moving here for their primary residence, but they're also coming down here and they're buying real estate investment. In the state of Florida, there's a high concentration of real estate investors, whether they're domestic or people coming from out of the country and buying real estate investment, properties, right? So we specialize in that space. We have developed products such as cash flow products, DSCR for residential 1 to 9 unit properties. We've developed second lien products because 80% of Americans have rates under 5. you have 24 million millionaires in the United States today. 75% of them are millionaires because of their equity, and they're stuck in these lower note rates. So people are accessing their equity to buy another investment property, to renovate their home, to consolidate debt, to whatever the case may be, right? So we think that's a major opportunity in mortgage finance is second lien products. And then on the supply demand imbalance in housing, there's a supply demand imbalance of about 5 to 7 million homes in the United States. And we have to build like an extra like 700,000 800,000 homes a year for the next 10 years just to meet that demand. So we've created a product to help regional builders, developers build help become a part of the solution to the supply demand imbalance and help them do more deals and provide them more reliable, dependable capital. So we could do up to $15 million on a single lot ground up construction, fix and flip to 15 million. We do bridge loans. And then if the builder has experience, we have an institutional group that we're doing projects, communities up to 300 million right now. So we're seeing a lot of activity in our space and very bullish. And, I'm very bullish on the state of Florida. If you look at the top six of the top 10 self-employment cities in the United States, the state of Florida has six of the top 10 cities with the highest self-employment concentration, right? And so, capital is flowing in, and there's a limited amount of inventory, especially if you're on the water. And I think Florida is a great story.
Yeah, some of those data
Mhm.
sets that you just shared are pretty amazing and astonishing at the same time. I'm really curious, like with some of the larger size ground up development deals, like what are you seeing typically those deals come in like? Is there any like standard procedure that you're seeing, like a trend per se?
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you look in Florida and Boca and Miami, all the homes that are single lots, right, with these old ranches, and the value, the land value is worth 1.5 million. They tear down the ranch and they put in a 4 or 5 thousand square foot home, and now it's worth like 5 6 million. So you're seeing a lot of that. If you just go up the intercoastal waterway, you'll see that. You're also seeing a lot of, fix and flip as well, right? Outside of the ground up where you do it, the horizontal and the vertical. That's new. That's it. That's the new construction is new inventory to the market, but you also have these uninhabitable homes or homes that need to be renovated and brought to current market standards because the average age of a home in the United States is 40 to 50 years old. And these homes need to be upgraded, right? So that's an opportunity too, is helping these investors do a fix and flip, right? Then when they do the fix and flip, then you could do the takeout loan, a DSCR loan. So now if you're an originator or a loan officer, you could get paid twice on a transaction, like two commission checks.
That's the secret sauce right there. And we're always around these roundtable mastermind situations where we're always trying to, uncover where opportunity lives and really try to drive people to see the vision. A lot of times, as you know, in Florida, we just keep hearing that, well, there's nothing available, there's no inventory, it's hard to find those properties that you're describing. But it sounds to me like you really, after I'm hearing you say it, you really got to get past the old way of thinking where you're going to find this house that might be under $1 million. You really have to have that belief to know it's going to be $1.5 million. It's going to cost you X to build it, but you're going to be close to getting that $4 or $5 million payday at the end. There's going to be somebody where they say, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah. I mean, look, last year on a national level, investor transactions were 30%. It was the highest it's ever been recorded, right? And so unlike a consumer that might buy a home every 5 to 7 years, the average investor is doing 5 to 7 deals a year. And so if you have a full suite of investor solutions and you become a product knowledge expert and master your trade, and you go to these RIAs and you start working with builders and developers, right? And you have a full suite of they acquiring the land, doing the fix and flip, doing the takeout loan. You're getting paid 3 different times, right? If they do the fix and flip, a lot of guys will need 6 months to a year on the appraised value to cash out to do the other deal. We've streamlined it so like as soon as that investor is done with the fix and flip, like they as long as they can show the work's done, they can cash out and they can keep their crews working on the next job and not wait for 6 months to get money out. So having like knowing the niches and knowing what investors need because they want leverage. They want to do a deal, get out, start the next one. And
Yeah, 100%. There were lines, the synergies between Deephaven and Bentley Equity Loans, where our guest Craig Good kind of falls right into play. In the short time of me working with him and understanding this space, it's really amazing to me, just as you described, how one deal leads to another that leads to another. And a lot of the other synergies in the industry is that these investors kind of collectively all know, like they know what you're prescribing at the end of the day. And for me, I've told some people that don't know, well, working with Craig when he gets to that approval stage, and I don't want to be over candid in this, but to say you're in the money. As long as you're capable of doing what you say you're going to do and perform and provide that renovation or the rehab to that home, you're going to get to that end result. You just have to follow the guidelines and do what you say you're going to do. Am I wrong, Craig? I want to chime you in on that, but...
No, I think you're 100% accurate. And, some of the things that Tom said really resonate with me because what the industry is going through is, to define agency versus non-agency. Agency is typical loans like owner-occupied conventional financing that utilizes Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA. And non-agency is this other pocket of capital that is deployed, through these unique mechanisms, which lower the documentation requirement. And what I'm noticed, just to give you a kind of a keep it in flow with the market trends. I'm recognizing that while a lot of the owner-occupied folks are still they got a lot of reservations about rates, prices, and every reason to say no, I see a lot of investors running in and really kind of, throwing haymakers, if you will, relative to prices because there's a lot of price instability to speak to what Tom's saying. And there's opportunities to capitalize on right there. And regular traditional people may not be able to see themselves kind of figuring out how to go into a property, renovate it. And, most of the people that are buying owner-occupied houses, they want something that's turnkey. They want to move in, they want to invite their neighbors over. And, what we're seeing is investors are kind of rushing to that fire that's out there. And we're seeing a great deal of growth. After 3 decades, I've pivoted completely into this arena. And, I think that that's not based upon hope or whim. It's based upon concrete facts of, how I've seen more and more lenders at the trade shows. 5 years ago, there might have been one non-QM lender. It might have been Deephaven, right, at a trade show. And then, as time went on, we saw that kind of invert, to where I've seen some seasoned originators. Those are the people that, do all the paperwork to originate a loan with the customers. I've seen a lot of people go from $40 million in, conventional basis of business and have a nice life to, if they didn't allow the non-QM, this new level of financing into their world, they would have, cut their volume to like $20 million. Mm-hmm. And so what they had to do is they had to utilize non-QM lending to kind of keep their spectrums up. And that's why I think I'm a believer in the business. And, what Tom said about secondary financing, I find that that's one of the most unique products that they have, which is, an answer to the person that owns an investment property with a lower rate. Their equity is stuck because they don't want to trade off that low rate.
Right.
But what these folks let you do is as long as the property cash flows, they let you take a second position equity line out, and in some cases, there's also a second, but they let you access that equity. And what that is a perfect storm in a good way for an investor to be able to access cash from a property that has increased in value to go out and tackle other projects that are going to actually have a really a good appreciation and value through the work that's being done. I see a ton of fix and flip demand. Ground up construction demand is, kind of right behind that, if you will. A lot of ambitious people out there, first time, fix and flippers, if you will, that, watch a lot of TV. And ironically, we do have loans for those folks, but they make sure that they're ready. And anybody that's an investor that's done, a a multiple of projects, they seem to kind of get the easy pass, right? They're able to go down, kind of a quicker lane. There's a lot more trust built into the lending relationship with somebody that has 10 plus projects under their belt. So I like the business. I think we're in an environment of success right now.
Another thing I would tell you too, look, more than 50% of condo purchases in South Florida, if you look at Dade and Broward, are actually from foreign nationals, right? Full foreign money are coming down here and buying. Speaking of condos, the agencies are actually going to be making some adjustments to the budget, their budget requirement, and they're no longer going to be allowing for a limited review. And 40% of condo projects in the United States, like when people buy loans or buy or condos, they go through a limited review. That limited review is going away as well. So the agencies are not budging through with these changes, even though there's been some lobbying around like, hey, we need, you guys need to revisit this. But there, from what I understand, and I co-chair the Mortgage Bankers Association's not agency committee in DC for our trade group in Washington. And, what I'm hearing is that, they're not moving on this change or these changes. And so a lot of these guys that are buying condos for primary or investor, they're going to have to be looking at non-agency as a takeout. So I think having options and, these type of products, whether it's, for the builders, the developers, the second liens, the bank statement loans for self-employed people, asset utilization, high income, high net worth, people that have assets, just looking at their assets and qualifying off those. There's so many opportunities, but having access to a full suite of non-agency really gives you a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And it allows you to tap into new referral partners that potentially in the past you weren't able to penetrate. These products allow you to tap into the top 5% of realtor teams that are moving weight in real estate, because 5% of the 5% of the realtors in the United States control 90% of the listings. So these are the products that, originators, are using to penetrate new relationships and thrive in a challenging market.
Right up your wheelhouse, huh?
Well,
This is right your wheelhouse.
it's Craig's wheelhouse.
But you're
I
part of with the
understand.
Craig wheelhouse.
I understand.
My wheelhouse, no. I'm more automotive.
Well, we could see what's Russell got up his sleeve
Oh,
today.
I'm sure. Listen, that's my guy in the finance world and the automobile world. That's
You've had a lot of
completely
recent specials. You guys are like giving cars away, 6 months free. What's going on?
Well, that's just Chevrolet because GMC they're trying to kind of
Move
get their
Corvettes?
market, share and handle
Would
that.
they
So
have
they
a slow up or something? What are they doing?
Well, get closer to year end. I mean, I think that just, they have no choice because the rates haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
So things have to move. And so they have to, introduce 0%. And then, 0% was great. I mean, in certain vehicles, 60 months. I mean, that's huge. That's like, saw that back in the 90s. I mean, that's when that was first introduced. I remember that. And periodically since then. But I was really interested in the no payments for 90 days. That was a kind of a, something that you don't see in conjunction with.
That's always your pull to get them through the door, because right now everybody's looking for that little bit of that window, looking for that break.
Yeah.
So especially in some of our market with that secondary income, that secondary credit that's out there, they're looking for that extended time period because they're already coming up with a down payment. They're already looking for, well, I already got me out for the down. Now I need a little bit more time for that first payment to come out. So that 90-day window brings a lot more people through the door. So you have people looking for that 90-day window. They're looking for that 0%. They're looking for that 0 down. So when you advertise it that way, it's opening up.
It's very attractive. I have to say
Correct.
that. And then you see other manufacturers now. Ford just came out with the same thing. So it's kind of like, who's going to take the lead, I guess, per se, and then everyone's going to follow, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, you're going to see now more and more manufacturers, I think, especially as we get closer to December. But like I said, the attractive thing was, mostly during the summer, we see business slows down. June was great, for a lot. July, again, vacation time, traveling. And then as you get to August now, it's like, okay, back to school. So, you're putting funds or time towards getting kids back to school, going to college. Mm-hmm. And there could be some, car shopping. And then, but mostly it's going to be, we're going to put our assets to that, right? Where we have to focus on what's important. Not that a car isn't, but that's going to come after. So I think the manufacturers, of course, realize that. And so they want to push as much as they can to make it more attractive, to maybe not necessarily force, but entice somebody to say, hey, you know what? I was going to put it off till December, but I mean, no payments for 90 days. I can make that work now.
Right.
You know,
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And Russell's, he's a finance director at Nissan. And so, I mean, they've had their ups and downs, but I have to say, even with them, that I think that, and you can tell me if I'm on this or not, but the leases, I think, are more enticing for them with Nissan.
The leasing
correct?
is attractive right now because, they're in their remapping stage of their whole lineup. Whether it's the lineup in the leasing stage of their specials, whether it's the lineup in the vehicles themselves, they're changing what they have become in the last, I would say, a good 10 years to what they used to be prior to that. And that's where Nissan's going back to. They're going back to being a fun car. They're going back to being that sports car. They're going back to where it is friendly for the client in sense of credit criteria, instead of sense of getting approvals and what's being offering out there for them. They are lenient. If you have, where you paid a Nissan before, it's easy for them to get another loan where they can step right back into where other banks are giving them a high rate.
Yep.
And then now they're getting that low rate. They're getting that attractive rate that everybody else was getting, and they don't have that credit criteria. But if they paid it well, they're able to take it on, and that's that push and where you're going to see a lot more come about with Nissan in the days to come.
How would you say, though, that they're, because it was interesting, I've had questions asked a lot about, credit challenge, right? Everyone's had their issues.
Of course.
Nothing wrong with that. We get it, right? But with the credit challenge, do you feel that they're more open to taking on those loans like other manufacturers? Have asked, questions. Clients would say, is it better for me to go to Honda or Ford or Toyota or Kia? And there's really I can't really give them a specific road to go because I know every deal is different.
Correct.
And I just remember years ago, and you can, probably relate as well. They really had manufacturers that you could specifically go to that would
Yes.
say, hey, like this one is gonna, we'll buy that paper. We'll buy. Now it's completely different, and I see that, with my clients that may happen, too. So just wondering, in your eyes, I mean, you're in it every day. If you see that they're a little more forgiving or not really?
They are. So they look at more of the bigger picture. So a lot of the banks will look at that score, okay, and it's score driven, and that's where they're basing everything off of. Where you'll have some lenders, they will look at the credit criteria. They'll look at the credit file. They'll understand that something has happened throughout that time period, whether they got sick, they went through a divorce. They could see that there was a prior credit history, that they were perfect at one point. And everybody goes through something, like Todd, you mentioned. Something happens in life, whether it is the divorce, whether it is a loss of job, whether it is you moved, whatever the case is, it's a natural disaster. Something happens. But a lot of times they will look at that, where Nissan, they'll look at the bigger picture. They're going to see there was a prior history. There was something that happened. So we know that this is not their credit makeup. This is not their credit criteria. There is something that happened that caused this to drop their score. We know that they can take on the payment. We know that they can take on this loan because they proved it prior to. There was a little hiccup in that little time period, but we're going to overlook and look back and see the past credit criteria, past credit history.
So this
How
kind
well
of
did you pay us?
This kind of the common denominator while we're here, kind of reflecting two different industries, but with a similar back finance product to get people in the door that they're looking to achieve. And it's funny because when Craig and I talk through a lot of his dealings, there is a lot of make sense decisions that have brought, right? And Tom, I can include you in this as well. There's a lot of like make sense approaches to these opportunities where it's not just a cut, dry decision to get people in the door. And that's really nice. It makes it more flexible. I think that's also broadening people's opinion of entering into these opportunities per se.
Well, it's funny that you said that because I was going to actually ask you guys that too, Tom and Craig, if that's something that they, do like in the car business? Like, do they have with mortgages for people that, may have an issue? Because everybody thinks, I
Like
can't
first-time
afford.
investor
Well, yeah, I can't buy
product?
a house or I can't afford. My credit is not so good. Do they, again, cars we know, but is there programs like that, or are they a little,
Yeah,
lenient, I
Tom's
guess?
go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, on the non-agency side, so non-agency started after Dodd-Frank, right after the financial crisis, and these products were traditionally, when they first were introduced, were for credit event borrowers or foreclosure, deed in lieu, right? And, back then in 2013, 98% of it was credit event. Today, it's only 3%. So we can do credit events. We can do past bankruptcy. We can do potential mortgage rates, but it's smaller. Our programs have catered and developed over time to serve high income, high net worth. Just looking at different ways to qualify on assets, their bank statements, cash flow of the investment properties. But yeah, we and overall, when you look at non-QM lending or non-agency lending, we're an exception-based investor. So I would say 30% of our deals are actually exception-based. Like we look at assets, we look at time on the job, reserves to make, exceptions to our guidelines. And so they're really story loans, right? Just like auto finance. What's the story? And so anyways.
That's good to know because I didn't you just wonder at times
Yeah, I mean, I'm
how
so-
things evolve and we try to stay
Right there.
involved in everything, but you just can't. There's only so much you can stay up to speed with.
100%. I mean, and having all the experience that even I've had with just buying and flipping houses, this is like a different segment to that. The approach is a little different. As Craig has demonstrated, there's less intrusive documentation that you need to get, think about it. W-2s, pay stubs, like you always got to go back and forth and back and forth. It really takes the joy out of your whole drive in acquiring the property because you get beat up with underwriting and beat up with process. And listen, in a car dealership,
Same
not
thing.
to toot his horn, whole reason why he exists is so you don't have to waste 4 hours of your time waiting for somebody to get you a piece of paper to say you can
Correct.
take the car.
Correct.
Am I right or wrong?
No, you're absolutely right, and that's why. Listen, if I could get all of my deals, which again, it can't. We have a lot of deals that we deal with, but most of my deals I try to give and work with Russell because we know how to work. Like we know how to get that stuff done
Right.
because we want to. The whole point is to save the client's time.
Yeah.
Of course, money. We all know that. That goes without saying. But most importantly, is time because nobody wants to spend 6 hours there doing that in finance. So like everything has to be quick, and with DocuSign and with all the technology they have, there's no need for it to take a long amount of time.
And then the proficiency is like, again, I keep going to Craig and Tom is that, understanding what the guidelines are, right? So if you are involved with somebody who really knows what they're doing, like Craig knows how to delegate these expectations so that to Tom's credit, closing these deals in 5 to 10 days in some cases, it's a teamwork effect.
Yeah.
Sure.
The relationship Craig has with Deephaven and vice versa, and the relationship you just had that you just explained.
Right.
That's what makes this work.
And that's interesting you said that because I was going to ask you guys that too, like with the car business with us. There's relationships, right? So a lot of times you can call and I wouldn't say favors, but they may tell you how to structure it or overlook something to get the deal done. Is that kind of the same in the mortgage business, would you say, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, in every aspect of it, there's, for people that are involved in mortgage financing, agency or non-agency, what I've recognized is there's an incredible can-do spirit.
There is.
And there's got to be a faith mechanism that's behind the whole thing, that you got to believe that the loan's going to close in order to work on it as hard as it requires, right? So, I think that right now what's going on is that there's just a shifting landscape. I think we're moving more into a cash flow world. And you see it in some of these, proposed loans that you guys were talking about a little bit earlier, is that, they're looking at maybe there's a little differentiation in the way to be able to, balance their risk. They want to make sure that if they're saying, yes to maybe a lower score band within your world, well, that there's some support behind it. And, the mortgage business is no different. What I recognize about non-QM, which is we're going to call non-QM non-traditional lending, because traditional lending has been branded in everybody. 20% down, you don't pay PMI. All those things are, really relevant. But in the space that, we're in, we're finding that, if you have 4 levers that you move in the DSCR space, I'll define that because not a lot of people know what that is. It's debt service coverage ratio. And what that basically means is if you're collecting enough rent to satisfy the mortgage payment, You don't really have any other documentation to provide. So what is that documentation that's required? It's usually a certified appraiser goes out, certifies the value of the property, and then they take a deeper dive into the rental market and they see what the market rents are on those properties. And we utilize those in underwriting to kind of pin where our loan amount and our payments can't exceed. So very similar to, the old debt load way of looking at things, but it's just a new frontier. I mean, most people are kind of outpacing their burn pretty good in terms of they're spending more than they're taking in. So it becomes, strictly a cash flow game. But the truth of the matter is why this lending is now becoming popular is because you can't tell me that if you're generating $15,000 a month that you can't afford a $365 car payment because you have a 610 score. I think those correlations do exist in the world that we're living in. As far as our space is concerned, I'm going to just piggyback off on what Tom says is that it's exception based. So for example, looking at doing a loan with us, if there's a need to, relook at something or, examine or paper over, if you will, something, we're more apt to be able to do that in the non-traditional, non-QM space than we would be in any of my former employees with respect to agency and, conventional financing.
Do you guys feel, though, for both you, Tom and Craig, because I find it interesting, like with the manufacturers that we deal with, if they haven't met a goal, let's say, right, and they have a certain amount of vehicles they're trying to get out for the month, and the dealership is, on that same path, they will maybe tend to, I'd say overlook, but work, not that they won't even work harder, but they'll maybe be a little more creative to get that vehicle on the road because they need to hit their numbers because the dealer does, the manufacturer does. So when they have that call with the bank and they let them know, and it's something that works out for both, because let's face it, everyone has to hit a goal, right? They all have numbers. Yeah. That they'd be more there'd be more option for them to find a way to get that loan approved. Is that kind of the same with your business or no?
I would say from an investor standpoint, we don't do that. Like the guide's the guide. Like we'll try to uncover every rock to understand, like, are there comp factors, right? But the reality is we package these deals and we put them in the bonds and we sell bonds. We issue our own securitizations. And if the bonds don't perform, right, then investors don't pay a premium for your bonds, right? So, but we're very innovative. We're always looking at ways to help qualify the underserved market. And, as long as it performs and there's, the reality is the loans that we generate, our average LTV is like 66, 67. So there's 34% skin in the game in these deals. These are well-heeled borrowers, and someone with 35% equity usually doesn't default. And if they do, they sell their house, right? And so people are not going to foreclose if they have 35% skin in the game. And so, the investors like that. These guys have skin in the game. And they like the performance. That's what, like right now, there's actually so much demand for the assets that I create that there's more demand than supply, because the guys that are buying these assets, right, there's a little bit more higher yield and they like that. And there's been some stuff that's happening in our market. Some of these larger, insurance, names that you see on football stadiums, right? There's been some changes around how their capital and how they look at certain pieces of assets, and things have become a little bit more favorable on the resi side compared to like commercial stuff. So you're just seeing an influx of assets come our way. And they're getting yield for performance, right? And so they like the performance and they like the yield. So we haven't run into that on our side.
Interesting.
I want to say what you can depend upon though is that late in the month where you're like kind of filling that bucket, there's an extra pep in the step for mortgage related product, because usually the real estate agents who drive this, they usually put their contract dates towards the end of the month to kind of set the borrower up for success, where they don't have to pay the first month's payment in its entirety at closing as well. So they'll wait kind of, they'll structure the deal to close towards the end of the month. And therefore, you're going to get a fourth quarter mentality out of all our processing and operation folks at the end of the month, because I think that's just a natural trending. I think we've grown to just kind of become. That's like kind of become a normal for us. But there's the correlation. You know, there's you're getting into a different gear. You know, you're kicking up a little bit more dirt.
For sure. The last week, look, we're in the last week of the month. We got a couple of days left. Everyone's like heads down, try to crank files through, get the loans closed, keep their referral partners happy, fund the loan before the end of the month. I'm sure it's similar with the identical probably with the auto side, right?
Yeah,
It
of
is
course.
where we have to, you know, it's got to close before the end, otherwise it's not going to count.
Well, it's just like you. It's got to be funded, correct?
Right, has to be, has
It's
to
gotta be
close, has
funded.
to fund.
Yeah,
Has
it's got
to
to fund.
fund.
Some,
You know, and
If
a
it
lot
doesn't
of,
fund, we don't count
the
it.
best thing is a lot of dealers used to do, and they don't. I mean, some still probably do, but they got away from it was that bill and return,
Correct.
which is like
Which
a way
it
that
could
they
be a
would-
nightmare.
Which they could still count the deal. I know. So they bill it and be returned. They'd have to go get the stuff
Oh.
after, and that was for the internal numbers. But it's it's not that it's a game, but it's more of a like a.
It's more of now you're chasing for the last month prior to where you want to move on fresh to the next month, and once it's closed, it's done. We close the books, that month is over, it's on to the next. And to keep chasing from the prior month to into the next, the bill and returns, I was never really a fan of them.
I don't blame
It's nice for maybe the salesperson to get their count, but otherwise, other than that, if it's
funny,
not ready, move it on to the next.
every industry that I know that doesn't do it that way always has chaos.
Yes. and
Their
that's-
payroll's always chaos. The commissions are always chaos. There's always buybacks, clawbacks,
Correct.
arguments. Everybody's disappointed.
Correct.
You know, it's easy to pay people. Everybody's happy. But then when you're going to have that call, they brought that car back.
Yeah.
I got to take your commission back. I got
Yeah,
to cut your
it's-
commission because now what we thought was a $3,000 deal now turned out to be only $1,500 because this bank wasn't buying it. And now we have to go to this lender. So it's to start that. It's always been a nightmare.
And you know, it's interesting because as you guys describe all the different ways people are acquiring investment properties and automobiles, it really does kind of match the way the world has evolved too. You know, a lot of ways people are making money is not what it once was.
No.
You know, so these bank deposit programs and these other means of making sense of people's financial situations really is important because, again, the world has evolved since, I hate to throw the COVID thing, but a lot of people had to reinvent themselves. They worked from home. They left careers. They couldn't go to their offices. They couldn't go to their businesses. So a lot of people like reinvented themselves and created ways to make income different ways. And, you know, that's a little funny. I could segue to Anthony, who's, you know, kind of made his transition from Bronx to Boca, or I'd like to say from New York to Florida with his family. And, you know, Anthony, that being said, maybe you want to share a little bit about how you got here and what you're seeing and some of the success you've seen from your recent explosion, I'd like to call it. But nonetheless, you're steamrolling.
Thanks, Todd. Real estate marketing has changed. You know, back in the day, you used to put a sign in the ground and put a listing on the MLS and wait for the phone to ring. Today, attention is everything. Getting in front of the camera, getting in front of future or potential customers, building your brand through familiarity, which builds ultimately trust. And trust builds business, right? So that being said, it's so important, and I speak for the real estate community because I see a lot of bad videos out there and like people just trying to be funny and everything feels scripted. So when we take Final Destination Homes and we do unscripted videos, organic videos, content that people can relate to, that builds the trust and people get to actually know who you are. So they may not be looking to buy or rent or sell in the, today, tomorrow, or the near future, but when they do, or if they do know somebody that is, they'll recommend you. And our DMs are lighting up every day with people just saying hello and wanting to get to know you and see what you're about and see if you're authentic. And I think that's the real push there. That's the beauty of why I've taken Final Destination Homes from a basic brokerage to a potential media giant, because we're really getting in front of everyone and saying, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do. But in essence, we're just like you. Because I exemplify that. Like, I've taken the journey. I got up. I left my hometown, everybody I know, everybody I love. And I took the trip, got in the car, didn't take a plane. We drove, family of 4 with the French Bulldog. His name's Bugatti. He's a nightmare.
I love the name, though.
Yeah, a good name.
I'm sitting with this dog. He's in shotgun. He's trying to bite my head off the whole way down. I'm like, Bugatti, please, leave me the hell alone, would you, please? All right, can we do this drive without you biting my chunk out of my arm? So he's an absolute maniac, the dog. But that being said, I took that step, that risk, to create a better atmosphere.
Yeah, you left a business. I mean, you still run it, but you left your business to start a new one.
Create a better life for the children. You know, we have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, Sophia and Anthony Jr., and they love the warm weather. I could not stand any longer seeing my children cooped up in the house. The New York winters are brutal now, but we have a longer stay with Old Man Winter. It's like a 6-month stay now.
Agreed.
You know, and it's really brutal. And you have some months where it's so windy, so cold. Even in the spring months, we don't really get spring anymore.
There was a guy that just came back from Jersey. He posted the water was 63 degrees.
Well, they say now, what? New England summer's what, 2 months? Maybe it used to be 3. They say June, July, August. They're lucky.
You're right.
July and August. July and August.
You know, when we were kids, we had, you know, March, started getting a little warm, right? Remember Easter's were warm.
Easter's were warm.
Easter's were back, you're right.
April, May, gorgeous months. Now it's like brutal cold till like June. You know, we just couldn't take it anymore. And I'm watching my wife get out there with the snow shovel this year. Unbeknownst to me, by the way, I did not make her do it. Although she will tell her mother that. I did not, for the record. I did not tell her to go out there with that shovel. All right? And I recorded. I said, this girl's out of her mind. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. So we just couldn't do it anymore. And the kids love Florida. We've been down here before. Bet on Boca. Boca is the greatest, one of the greatest places to live on the planet.
That's awesome.
Period. We love it there. And it feels like home. It's a 6th borough. Everywhere we go, we know people. People jumping out of the car. Bronx to Boca, Anthony, come here, come there, try this place, try that. And we're really making a lot of friends here. And that's what it's all about. The human experience, the experience of taking sales and, you know what, putting it on the shelf. We could talk numbers all day long. We could talk about, let's sell your house, let's do this, let's buy that, let's rent this. But you know what? Let's tell the story.
It is the connection, though, because honestly, that's how we all kind of got together. You know, we, again, like you said, we all knew a lot of the same people. But it was your story that really resonated because we all had that same experience coming from Northeast to here.
Yeah.
There's always a delay in a moving truck or a car or always something. My moving truck was delayed. So when you told me the story of how you just got bored and you were like antsy and you were taking in all the sun and you just wanted to go sell something, like, you said you had you could have no clothes. You could tell the story. It's the greatest ever.
The buzz was because we were trying to do media prior, but when we got down here, I had the backdrop of palm trees, so I got so invigorated by that and the warmth. Awesome. I'm like, you know what? I'm in a guinea tee. I'm all Italian. I'm all cugined out. You know, I got the gold chain. I got the Cazals on. My hair's pushed back. You know, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna film a video. And I said, what backdrop should I use? So I went to the beach. I went to Boca, I think Spanish River Boulevard at the end. I picked up my phone and I just did a quick video of why I'm here. Who am I? And what am I doing here? And then it went great. It went viral. It absolutely went viral. We did a second video. I went to Meisner Park, Royal Palm Place, one of the most prestigious areas in all of Boca, maybe even West Palm, period. And I had a tank top, a guinea tee on with my chain out, gazelles, and I did a video talking about Meisner Park. People were like, how dare you? Get out of here, Guido. Like, what are you doing here? Like, they were giving me such backlash.
Your wife got mad at you.
Yeah. She goes, put a shirt on. But I got to be honest, it created such a buzz. Yeah. It was so organic and authentic, and it was real because I'm talking about real stuff, and I'm not trying to sell you on anything.
Right. No, the comparisons are legit.
No, but that's
the traffic, everything. We talk about that.
When you brought him in, I said, wait a minute, you're the guy I saw on TikTok at the beach when I first met you at lunch.
Yeah.
Because I saw it on TikTok. I'm like, look at this. Because I can I can relate.
Everybody
to that.
can relate
We
to
can
it.
all relate to it. You know.
All my shirts were in transition. The moving truck was delayed. The truck broke down, and I'm like, I can't wait anymore. I gotta pick the camera up and start filming. I'm on dead man's rights over here. I gotta get going. I'm a mover and shaker. I don't want to wait anymore. So I'm like, you know what? I got
He's
the
still on
guinea
that
pig.
New York timeline.
That's
yo.
it. I'm not-
I love it.
Bro, I'm not on island time out here, man. I'm here to make moves and make money and help people relocate, because I know a lot of people feel that pain that I felt up north, because this last winter, like I said before, not to be redundant, but it was really bad.
Yeah, tough.
Like, it was probably one of the worst winters we ever experienced. That push, that motivation, that drive is there with people. They know it. So everybody has their own reasons for moving. And it's one of the hardest decisions of your life, actually, but I'm here to make that transition easier, through a story and through my efforts and my journey. And like, why am I here? This is why I'm here, and this is what I'm doing. Let me help you. And I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Right.
But the story's there. The story's viable, and people can connect to that.
Yeah, because you're gonna sell yourself.
At the end of the day,
That's what
you
it is.
may get somebody saying, "Oh, you're self-promoting." I
That's
get
what
it,
you're supposed to do,
right?
really.
But,
yeah, but that's
but at the same token, I'm telling the story, and the story
It is like
real.
what you said, though, through the great job you're doing and putting all your information out there and your own personal comparisons. We've made a connection through that.
Yes.
And that's what you're doing. Like, you're projecting yourself so people can get to know you. And then people who want to get to know you will engage.
Yes.
And then you get into this kind of like back and forth of getting to know one another, which then eventually it could translate into, hey, we need an investment property.
Lots of
well, now
stuff.
you know you can call Craig and we can get them
Sure.
booked in and boxed up and
That's
give
it.
them the key.
Listen, I said
If they need a car, now you know you call Russ. And it segues to an I know a guy.
Yeah, you got a
Right
guy.
back to I know a guy.
Correct.
You always
Right
got a
back-
guy, man. You got a guy.
But it's funny. I learned this when I was at Boca Chamber
Yeah.
with a group, nothing like this, a little bit bigger, but it was funny. Somebody had said in there, "You wanna for business," because I was trying to generate kind of my business. Not again, just there introducing myself when I moved here. Like, hey, I have Rizzo Automotive. I'm a concierge service. And somebody said, "Listen, the key to it, which completely resonates from what you said, is in order for them to want to do business with you, they have to know, like, and trust."
Yes.
Exactly.
And it stuck to me. I'm like, wait a minute, wow, like to know you, to like you, and then they're gonna trust you.
Right.
And I use that when I, coming down here and trying to build my business, and that's the only way to do it, is get in front of people. And once they get in front of you, they're gonna get to know you. Hopefully, they're gonna like you, which I think they're gonna like everyone, like all of us, right?
Yep.
We all want to be liked, and then that's when the trust comes.
The familiarity has to be
correct.
there.
And you
It's
want to
like
work
everyone
with,
on this
and
panel.
at the end of the day, when you work with people you like, the whole process is more enjoyable
That's right.
because
Fun.
you enjoy each other as you
I mean,
go through
trust,
the journey.
same thing. How we met. That's how we met. Yeah.
I mean, just look at the trust you had with your client just a couple months ago where, speaking of the Bronx, she lost her vehicle. Who did she call immediately?
She did.
Wait,
And
she
she went-
lost her vehicle?
Got it
Well,
totaled.
it was totaled. It was a
Oh,
total
she
loss.
flipped it.
Oh.
She bought a vehicle from us, flipped it.
You
She
never
called
know.
us
You
right
said
away.
Bronx. Maybe
Yeah.
someone hooked it.
Yeah, no. And then, and the first time was a little hard, and the second was a little even harder as far as, her credit stuff, but no big deal there. But the
Right.
thing is that, like, that's what you did. She did, and then I had to give her Russell, and, to get that done. But it comes how I met you. That's how I met you. And we built that trust.
Correct.
On our deals, knowing that he's going to do what's right for my client, because at the end of the day, we have to do what's right for my client.
Right.
On how we can
First.
both at the same time. You can step right off the deal and I can pick right up and vice
Correct.
versa.
Correct.
So it's the same person that's closing the deal seamlessly, where it's not just two different mentalities and two different closes that are coming in,
Yeah.
where it's that one person could walk away, that other person walk right in, and it's a smooth close, smooth transaction.
Transition. Yeah.
And it's these synergies, again, with having Tom from Deephaven here, his relationship and corresponding with Craig really paves that smooth transition sale that you're describing, which makes the customer feel good about what they're doing and enjoying again, I don't want to be redundant, but it's the process, right?
Right.
High speed, low drag. How much better is something when you just get to pick up the phone? Yep, we're all set. Yeah, we're all set. I mean, believe it or not, we are all
Yeah,
set.
of course.
I mean, Craig closed the deal today. We didn't even know. I mean, I shouldn't say we did, but we didn't know because it
One
went
of us
smooth
know.
as silk. It went smooth as silk.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to one thing in the ever-changing world that we're living in. I think the one common thread that we all have is that customer experience is probably one of the most important things to bring into this new frontier, because I think we talked about it a little bit briefly about, how little effort is paid towards customer experience with this next level generation of people that are, serving other people. With us, I think that, we're a referable model when we can have a good client experience, because then nobody's ever going to remember the rate that they charge, but they're going to remember their experience.
Right.
And so that's the focus. And that's why, I like to keep, our foot on the gas pedal all the time, but with a delicate amount of pressure, because we don't want to be stressing borrowers out. But I like to get things in and out quick, because I feel like that's memorable. 30 and 45-day closings are memorable, but not in the right way.
Right.
We want to get things cleaned up, 2-3 weeks maximum, but our target's 10 days. Yeah. And I've seen it. I've operated to that standard. We're holding our company folks to that standard. If we fall off and we hit something in 12 or 13 days, nobody's really complaining about it. But again, it's a long process when it's a long process, especially with us, because it's not an enjoyable process. I don't think, people want to buy a car. People want to buy a house.
Right.
They don't want a mortgage. They don't want
the car
a loan. So what does that mean? That means that what we have to do is we have to make that experience at least, I like to call it in the sports thing, we got to bury it into the offense somehow, where, that's not the part that they remember.
Right.
And that's very difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, it's one of the things that I've recognized in this one, short period of time. I think everybody's focused towards doing right by the customer. It's also the reason why they're going to know, like, and trust you for the next referral, for the next piece of business. And I think that we're kind of the last generation of people that care about referral client. Somebody said something yesterday that I picked up on. It says, past clients. I have a past client database. Somebody stopped them and said, no. Those are my clients. They're not my past clients, which basically means that, in the metaphor, they're open to the possibility of, new future business. And I think everybody that, approaches things that way, they're going to have a successful professional effort.
Interesting that you say that, though, because I was saying this too a while back. Like when I grew up, coming up, the dealers were Rizzo Ford, right? But then we had the Providence Journal. You can relate to that.
Yeah.
So you would put ads in. You would spend $50,000, $100,000 in the 90s on ads to get people in the door. Okay. Now nobody does that.
Right.
But I was only used to growing up that way. Like, we just, you run ads, like you put them in the Journal. Everyone looked at the New York Times or whatever the paper.
100%.
$79.95 for a brand new Escort. It was like, wow. And then, but now as you evolve, we didn't have internet. Like, towards the end, of course we did, but we didn't. That's not what I grew up with. My dad was like, grab a yellow pages. A white pages. Go through it.
Yeah.
He would give everybody letters. Like, you pick A to, B, A to D, and you call everybody in and ask if they want to buy a car. So for me, when I opened the business, I couldn't do that, right? So I had to build off referrals. Yeah. And the only way to do that is you got to treat, like you said, treat people right, know, like, and trust, and then hope. Because even right now, I have a marketing, like a higher marketing team. I'm like, is there any way we can advertise it? Like, where do you want us to advertise?
Yeah,
and
right.
I thought about it. I'm like, that's right.
You're right.
There's no news.
There is
nothing
none.
you can do. All you can do is go on social media.
I was going to say,
Which is okay.
Take a page out of Anthony's book and pick up your phone. You can advertise right there.
But I'm saying, and that's what made me transition to I know a guy, is what I'm saying, how it kind of entwines all of us. What Anthony's doing is right. I had to go to the videos and do a little bit of a skit to get people to say, hey, you know what? I need a car. Let me give that guy a shot.
Right.
I saw his stuff online, and then the other biggest thing, which I'm sure is for you too, you guys as well, is the reviews. Everybody loves the reviews. Like, if you have a
key to success is the reviews. That's the word of mouth that's
Correct.
going around
Again,
in that side of it.
Correct.
What used to be, hey, call this person, is now,
Well,
that's a good
what
review.
Todd was saying too about the long. What do you say you care more about the end of the sale? What was that you mentioned?
Correct.
One time?
What I was saying, the end of the sale, because you want them to come back, right? Like, I want to let them know that, hey, it's just not about selling the car. It's what happens after the sale.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want people to know.
So you follow up with them. And
Correct.
You
Like,
make sure
they get in an
everything's-
accident, I want, God forbid, the call. They want a service, an oil change, call me. Because I want to get you in, because you know what? A lot of times now the dealer's like, well, I can't give you a car. But if I call, I'll get you a car.
Right.
Because again, it's time.
Because you know a guy.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it all flows because you can't be without a car, can you? Like,
No,
can you imagine?
not in
Especially
today's
you,
world.
Anthony, with your family. Could you be without a car
No,
while
no.
one's getting service?
And that's the service I need from a car dealership.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
That's what I want. I want somebody to be on the other end of that phone, looking to connect me and help me and expedite things as we expect. You know, not put me on hold or give me to somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, or reroute me to someone that won't take care of me like how you will, because we have a relationship.
Correct.
It's a much different
Same
effect.
thing with but when it comes to real estate, though. I want to call somebody that's going to guide me the right way, right?
Absolutely.
Like, and tell you what to do. Or like you, Craig, when I want to talk about, like we talked about financing with, even in the cars, like somebody, that's what I was saying. Like, I wish Craig could get into the lending money in the car side.
No, he's good where he is.
No, but I know. But what I'm saying, is because
Todd
of the
doesn't want you to spread me too thin.
You know what I'm saying?
The other
Craig,
Todd.
no, because of the relationship, though. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Because I'm very relationship.
Yeah, because you can pick up the phone and know.
There you go.
Again, I
maybe
think
Todd should get into our business, Tom. Maybe he's a good recruit for some Deephaven. We'll get him a Deephaven over here.
Deephaven on the other side. No problem. Done. I'm in.
You want an investment property? We can have a car waiting for you in front.
Need something filled in that driveway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We're kind of wrapping up here, so I can kind of close us in and say, Tom, thank you for all your insights on the industry. We'll definitely have you back if you're ready to deal with us once again. I know we're really not that bunch of a group of fun guys, but we try to be.
I'll be in the office next time. I'll join you guys on set.
That would be great.
Oh,
'cause I'd love to
perfect,
learn more
perfect.
about it, so.
If the office is a center console, I'll be there.
The lines will be too tight.
We can just set out all those electric reels. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
We'll see what catches what. In the meantime, though, Craig, you're definitely looking for some hungry, humble, smart people to join Team Bentley Equity Loans. And I know, Anthony, you are on the verge of getting your operation expanded here in Florida with some more real estate agents, right?
Yes, we are currently looking for new talent in New York and Florida. So if you are a licensed real estate agent, or if you're looking to get your license, we are looking forward to having a conversation with you.
You want them to just DM you at the Bronx to Boca, or you want to give them Bronx to Boca DM?
They could reach out to the website direct, thefinaldestinationhomes.com, or they could reach me on my email at Tony, Tony, at finaldestinationhomes.com.
Awesome.
I'm definitely going to drop that at the chamber, too, for him.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, you're
Craig,
welcome,
same
of
for
course.
you.
Yeah, same for us. I mean, the licensure part, a little bit looser on that. We're able to work in about 40 to 50 states in the country right now. So, our debt service coverage ratio product is stretching from coast to coast. If you need a fix and flip, if you need a ground up construction, our wheels are on the ground and we're ready to go.
Yeah, sounds good.
And Russell, of course, if anybody needs any cars, right?
Of course.
Between you and me with financing.
Between Rizzo Automotive, between
And you
Greco
guys-
Automotive,
Yep.
you can.
You guys cover, just before you guys cover all brands too. It's not just one. It's anything. Anything that's on 4 wheels or 6.
Correct.
You guys can accommodate.
Yeah,
Sure.
We'll find the car. I mean, we have 19 stores, throughout several different states. So pulling any type of vehicle, that's an easy one. And it's whether it's a new manufacturer or whether it's pre-owned, I could pull pre-owned from all my locations.
Yeah.
So Todd knows, that's
great.
such an easy way to work, having that at your fingertips.
Yeah, tell me
For all
about
the
it. He
stores.
hates when I call him.
Not at all, ever.
Wonderful connection to have.
Yeah.
Of course,
Great.
absolutely.
Amazing.
All right, so thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll leave off to a next segment of Todd and Todd. I don't know,
Yes.
what do we got going on?
The episode 3 is going to be good. It's going to be good. Yeah.
That's just
We
leaving
got
it at that.
We
what I
got
mean?
some powerhouse,
Oh,
which I don't even know how we're going to. That's going to be more of a wild episode.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
I figure we got to go wild.
You got a cast.
Gotta go wild.
You got an all-star set here, my man.
This
so
was
we'll
the
see.
All-Star set.
We'll see the next
Hey,
time.
well,
yeah.
listen, this was the All-Star,
This
right?
is the All-Star
The next one's
set,
going to
yeah.
be a wild bunch
Yeah,
of...
I was gonna say we'll come in every other episode.
To help us. Exactly. Correct.
All right, well, thank you everyone. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks,
Thank
Todd.
you, Tom.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.